Hello to all you vacation rental pioneers out there. My name's Matt Landau, and this is Unlocked, the podcast series that introduces you to the world's leading vacation rental innovators by diving deep into one single key, one specific best practice or technique that opened the door and changed the game. I like to call Heather Bayer my BFF in the vacation rental industry. She's been doing the educational and podcasting thing before anyone else, so I even sometimes pull out the godmother moniker. Heather sort of looks over all of us and makes sure that we're all doing good. I was in Vegas for the night, and instead of hitting the casinos, I asked Heather over to my vacation rental. Shout out to Amy Fermani for a little Inner Circle vacation rental party, and for Heather to share an unlocked tactic that she'd be presenting at VRMA International. It's a riff on the famous love languages concept, this idea that all guests possess one primary language, and if you as a host don't identify it, if instead you're trying to speak another one, your efforts just won't land. Of course, my BFF explains it best. Here's me and Heather. My name's Matt Landau, and this is Unlocked. Where are we right now?
You asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, we're in a bedroom.
We're in a relatively small bedroom.
Yes. No, I never thought I'd be saying this. I'm in a bedroom with Matt Landau.
And a very hairy man.
Oh, yeah, there's another hairy man in here.
Sitting in the corner wearing red headphones. What city are we in, and what are we doing in this city?
We're in Las Vegas. Not my favorite place in the world. But we've just had the most amazing VRMA conference. And yes, it was good to get out of the casino environment and get to this wonderful place.
It's intense down there. I've never been to Las Vegas before. It's intense.
Well, did you just turn up this afternoon and just see that intensity?
Basically.
Uh-huh.
But even being in the casino, trying to, the traffic even outside the casinos, there are fences, there's labyrinths. It's very overwhelming.
It is.
For a small country boy like myself.
Yeah, well, you're a small country boy. I'm a rural girl, you know? Yeah.
Where are you originally from?
Small town England.
And what point brought you over to this side of the pond?
It's a longer story, but I'd been doing cottage rentals in Canada to the British market, and I was traveling out to Canada every 6 weeks to get new inventory. And we decided this was ridiculous. We may as well move to Canada and do the business there.
And we haven't even actually said your name just yet, but if people don't listen to vacation rental podcasts and they might not know you, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Heather Bayer. I am the host of the Vacation Rental Success Podcast.
And you've been doing that for how long now? I've
been doing that for 4 years now. We're at 257 episodes and 400,000 downloads.
I am making up an adulation gesture here for those who are not in the room. Because that's incredible. What's the secret to getting through that many podcasts? I'm on number 15.
Oh, well, what's the secret? Oh, to the consistency. Do you know, I honestly don't know. It's being told by my business partner that you just don't stop. You just got to keep going. You've got to be consistent. You've got to do it every single week. And one day he'll tell me that I can stop.
That's actually the exact same thing that Will Franco told me about video. I was like, I don't like the way I sound on video. I don't have time to do video. He says, Matt, you should do video every single day or else your business, it will be a disservice to your business. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay.
Well, people start to expect it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we miss it, we've never missed a day. We've never missed a week. But I think if we didn't come out on a Wednesday morning, then we would get the emails and the text messages.
So it's almost like you're building good pressure onto yourself.
Yeah.
And Heather, you hear when you come to these kinds of conferences, you share wisdom with individuals. And we were talking about what would be a good deep dive for the Unlocked podcast. And you wanted to zoom in on a presentation and specifically one element of that presentation. Give me a high-level overview of what the presentation is first.
Okay, I did a presentation with Andy McNulty of TouchStay and Tyan Marsink of VR Mastered. And Tyan's also the community ambassador for TouchStay. And Tyan came up with the idea. And she said that she'd She was interested in love languages. And this is the Love Languages by Gary Chapman.
Love the book.
Yeah, it's a great book, and it's all about how we communicate with each other. And to give you a small example, we all communicate in different ways, and we accept communication in different ways, and it can be a portrayal of love. So one example, if my husband brought me home a bunch of flowers, I would say, thank you very much. I would put them in a vase and probably not even take the band off them. And they would go in a corner, I'd forget it.
And he'd be thinking to himself that she doesn't
Yeah.
love me for whatever reason. She doesn't appreciate it.
However, if he takes the garbage out without me asking him, that is gold. And if he did the washing, if he turned the washing machine on, which he does occasionally, well, we'll stop there.
So what are the 5 languages?
So the 5 languages are, my number one is acts of service. People do things for me that make me feel good.
Got it.
That lights up my eyes, makes me happy.
Got it.
The second one is quality time. People take time over doing things. Receiving gifts. It's my lowest one.
Yeah, that's my lowest too. And my ex-girlfriend, it was her highest. We learned that the hard way.
Right.
Continue. Words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation.
And
the final one is...
We'll think of it when we come along. But the one that you love the most, the one you want to dive into is...
The one I want to dive into is words of affirmation, because this made Andy talked about an experience he had, because words of affirmation is his primary love language. And when it's translated into the guest experience, it comes across as him asking a lot of questions when he's going to a vacation rental. He asks a ton of questions. And let's say he's got 8 or 9 questions, and he asks them all, but if the person, the owner or the manager, comes back and has only answered 7 of the 8, he's okay with that, but he's very unhappy that they missed out one question. This is really important to him, and he feels he's not been respected.
And if I did that, I probably would not be as offended, because that's maybe not my thing.
That's not your thing.
Yeah.
It's not my thing.
But it's
I wouldn't
his.
even notice, but it's his. So this really impacted me, because I think as property managers and owners, we get these lists of questions all the time. And the first thing we think of is, it's on the listing.
Yeah, didn't you read it?
Didn't you read it? What type of beds are in the bedrooms? Read the listing. But if that person's love language is words of affirmation, they want the response to come back that says, your questions are great. These are the answers to all of them. Don't miss a single one. And then the other thing is with words of affirmation, and Andy mentioned this as well. He really, really values at the end of his stay to get a note that says, thank you so much for choosing me.
You're the best guest.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd like to take a quick moment to share a little vignette that I keep coming back to. And it's the vacation rental movement, like a parade that's coming through town. As independent owners and managers, we can either jump in and join the action, or we can watch it pass by. And as you can hear from this conversation, joining in on the parade means innovating, adopting new technology, and doing things that haven't been done before. This podcast would not be possible without the support of Point Central, a company that epitomizes innovation. Their property automation services like smart locks and smart thermostats allow us to focus on the highest value jobs, in the process delivering a more seamless experience to the people that we work with. Head over to pointcentral.com/VRMB to learn more. That's pointcentral.com/VRMB. Thanks to the Point Central team for their leading role in our proud vacation rental parade. Now let's get back to the show. And so would it be fair to say that there's some travelers, let's say 1 out of every 5 travelers is going to be that kind of individual, and maybe 1 out of every 5 hosts is naturally that kind of individual, which means to say, chances are you are not going to be the same as your guest.
The way we look at it, you get dozens and dozens of 5-star reviews. Then out of the blue, you get a 3-star. And you just cannot understand why that happened. You've done everything right. And it could simply be that you are on very, very different wavelengths, and you're just not hitting that guest on their wavelength.
Okay, so here's the big question. if I'm listening to this and I hear that I might not be the same language as my potential guest, I might not appreciate words of affirmation or stress them as much as my potential guest. How do I resolve this as the host?
As the host, in the course of the customer journey, from research right the way through to post-stay, you do something at every stage that hits on each of the love languages.
That sounds like a tall task.
It's not a tall task, because hitting words of affirmation is simply maybe a text. Hitting service, acts of service.
What was the in-person time?
A quality time.
Yeah, like physically do a check-in.
Physically do a check-in. Oh, the other one that we missed was physical touch.
Yeah,
and that's
an
a
little weird
one,
for
because
vacation rentals.
Well, look at it like a virtual hug. Okay, in love languages, somebody whose primary love language is physical touch loves to be hugged, loves to be touched, but we can't do that with our guests. So we give them the virtual hug.
Which is what? The bear emoji?
It's actually just the connection with them. That is, it may not be a physical connection, but it's the connection. It's the smile on the phone. And also from a feeling point of view, it's when your guest arrives, it's having the fire lit, it's making them feel comfortable, it's giving them the virtual hug. It's like hygge.
What's that?
Hygge is the Danish concept of comfort.
Oh, interesting.
That's another topic.
Hygge, that's a totally separate.
Hygge, Hygge, hygge.
So now that I know this, my audit process to go back through my emails, to go back through my guest correspondences, my templates, my email marketing is to be injecting complimentary, or at least just words.
For words of affirmation,
Yep.
For quality time, your guest wants to know that you've spent the time on making their experience good. So it's making sure that between booking and arrival, there is a series of emails letting them know that you haven't forgotten them. There's often that tumbleweed time between booking and arrival. And many people leave guests out in the lurch. Do you know, just one statistic here, that the majority of service calls to HomeAway come between booking and the stay.
Interesting.
And that is calls saying, I just want to make sure I'm booked. I haven't heard from anybody.
And maybe things like lack of trust or being timid or something like that encompasses a couple of different of the languages.
And this is the thing that, you don't have to do this consciously, but if you understand that your guests are perceiving their experience from beginning to end in different ways, and it may not be the same as yours, that if you can hit them at all these different levels, then you've got a happy guest.
Okay, I'm going to try to summarize what I just learned with the hope that you can fill in any blanks. In reading the 5 Love Languages book, you learned that each individual has a preferred version of interpreting love. And if your version of interpreting love is not the same as your spouse's or someone that you care about, there can be issues. And so identifying what the other person's preferred language of love is and catering your own behaviors to it are going to close the communication gap and allow you to love each other more deeply or something.
Mm-hmm.
When applied to the vacation rental world, we're still dealing with humans. And as hosts, it's our job to recognize that not all prospective guests interpret your care or your attentiveness or your love the same way. And specifically, words of affirmation is an easy way to go back through your verbiage, inject things that appeal to people who like to hear positive verbiage in an effort to close the gap and ultimately connect more with your guests.
Yeah, I think that's a very good summary. In short, just leaving a gift, a bottle of wine, for many, many people doesn't do it for them. You may think this is the greatest gesture in the world, but really all you might need to do is label your light switches.
That's probably an even better takeaway here. Go through and do a little bit of each of them.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit of each. Give your guests quality time. Do some acts of service, which makes them feel better. Give them some words of affirmation. The virtual hug. And then the 5th one, which is another one, and I've forgotten it again.
But tell me why your eyes seem to light up when you said the light switches being named.
Oh gosh, did they?
Yes.
Yeah, because that is my thing. Years ago, we went to Exuma, and absolutely fabulous villa. And there was this lovely gift on the counter when we arrived. And, it was gorgeous. And then I looked around and we were going outside and it was dusk. And I went to a bank of light switches. And usually, you got to go click, 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 find the right one to light up the different places.
And what did you find?
They were all tiny little labels underneath. Told me exactly what light switch was for each light.
Your face is literally in love right now. You're describing that as like describing someone that you're in love with. This sort of thing really resonates with you.
It really does. Because that is my number one love language is acts of service.
And I think this is also a good rule just in general for dealing with people, recognizing that not everyone interprets love in the same way.
Well, that's right. Some of our group loved the gift that was left and the chocolate and the wine. It's like, you can take that. Just give me the labeled light switches. And for others, like the words of affirmation, a welcome note that says, thank you for choosing my place for your stay.
Worth way more than a gift.
Yes. So you see, in those few things, you've already touched on 3. We walked in the door and the air conditioning was set to just the right temperature. So that's your physical touch.
I love this.
Yeah.
And I feel significantly smarter than when we first started. Thank you.
You are most welcome.
And to close, just a quick reminder of who made this episode possible. It's Point Central, the property automation experts of our industry. Head over to pointcentral.com/VRMB to learn more. And when you use that page, you'll become eligible for free HVAC analytics, which tells managers when the HVAC starts to misbehave before our guests get upset. This also makes property owners happy by taking care of the problem before it becomes too expensive. And if you're feeling cheerful, please also consider writing us a quick review in your podcast app. We read every single one of them, and we pass them along to our esteemed guests. This industry is growing up quickly, my friends. This industry is unlocked.